Good evening and welcome to the Cherry Hill High School West Auditorium. This evening you will be in store for Cherry Hill High School West versus Cherry Hill High School East Boys Gymnastics, one of the finest events in high school sports. And before we get underway, we're going to dedicate this program to one of our most avid viewers, in the audience, and that is Jennifer Arrington, who's just turned 9 today, and we'd like to dedicate this program to her. And now what we're doing is we're announcing the teams here. Cherry Hill West has just been announced, and the coach of the boys gymnastics team, and then the captains of the East team as well as the coach. The first event will be the floor exercise. And before we get too far underway, just to know who will be commentating with you this evening is myself, Michael Arrington, joined by my permanent partner for the year, Adam Arrington. And Adam, welcome aboard this evening.
Thank you, Mike.
What you will see this evening is a farrago of events ranging from the floor exercise and side horse and rings to vaulting, parallel bars, as well as the horizontal bar. And now we're getting ready to get underway, and our first event will be the floor exercise. Participating for West will be Nathan Held, Mr. Calabrese, and Andy Davis. For East will be Steve Creel, Steve Kowalansky, Scott Drewer, Rich Highland, and Joe Gilson. As we get ready to get underway, floor exercise consists of mainly tumbling, one of the most difficult events in gymnastics. And perhaps, Adam, you'd like to give us a little background on the floor exercise.
Well, Mike, the floor exercise, as you said, is a very difficult event. There's a series of flips, jumps, tumbling going on, and I think you're a very good participant in this event if you can make a mistake, but if you know how to get out of it and make it look like it was planned in your routine.
All right, there we have the beginning now of the first routine. And we have a handstand into a flip. Now we have a split. Shows excellent flexibility. Back into a handstand. And this is, just so you know who this is Steve Creel from East. Falls into the far left-hand corner, gets ready for his second tumbling run, and does a cartwheel round off, a backflip. Excellent threesome there. Then goes into a flying handstand, into another handstand. Goes into the other corner for his third tumbling run. Showing his balance there, doing the Y stance. And now goes into his final tumbling run. 2 back handsprings, a little bit of tumbling on the end there. That is the end of Steve Creel's routine for Cherry Hill East as we await the scores of the judges. And certainly for this event, you cannot be a valetudinarian because you must be a very strong-willed individual to participate in this event.
Mike, that was a very good routine right there. It was almost perfect except for the ending, but after coming out of a move like that, I know I would be, a little bit off balance. So I think he should be getting a very good score there.
Well, we'll find out momentarily, and he gets a 4.8 from one judge and a 5.2 from the other. So it's 4.8 and 5.2 with an average of 5.0. And although a good routine, what happened was it wasn't the greatest amount of difficulty for a floor exercise routine, which is probably why he did not get a higher score as might have been expected. Although what he did was executed quite well.
I think he also is setting the pace, showing the other players what they have to beat, showing what they might have to do. Maybe they make a last-minute change in their routine, make it a special effort to make the routine better.
Okay, and now up for Cherry Hill East is Steve Kowalansky. And he starts his first tumbling run with an excellent series of maneuvers, well executed, goes into the far corner to show his balancing ability, showing his flexibility as well, doing a split. And now he gets set to do another tumbling run, but first he goes into a handstand. After this handstand, he manages to pull off nicely, and so far we haven't seen too many errors at all. Goes into his next tumbling run into the other corner, falls into there nicely, doing a flying dive roll there. And gets ready to do his third tumbling run. First showing his flexibility once again, and I think you see that Steve here is certainly doing a great deal better than the first contestant, as you said, Adam. Maybe to just was there to set the pace, and now we have the rest of these contestants up to see what they can do and try to beat here. Then we have his third tumbling run here. Certainly well executed. Oh, but he put his hands on the floor, and that'll certainly cost him in his final tumbling run. Don't you think so, Adam?
Yes, I would, Mike. The end part of the routine is probably the most. A lot of emphasis is put on with the score at the beginning and the end. The middle is where most of the moves are, of course. But if you can, end it well, that's what stays in the judges' minds as they score.
That's very true, and here comes his teammates to congratulate him, of course, as all East and West players will do for each other. And now Nathan Held, the first contestant for West, has a tough job ahead of him, but we'll see what kind of pressure he has after we see the scores for Steve Kolinsky.
6.2.
We have a 6.2 and a 6.5. 6.2 and a 6.5. So that's certainly considered quite well on the high school level. And here comes Nathan Held for Cherry Hill High School West, the first contestant this evening for West on the floor exercise. He starts his first routine, well executed. So far, no bobbles. Was able to keep his balance nicely. However, he was far off the mark on the corner and had to kind of only walk there, which showed that his timing was not exactly perfect, and he might have a few tenths taken off for that. And now we see him in the far corner over there, showing off his flexibility and maneuverability, moving and doing his moves as he gets set for his third tumbling run. And there he goes, and he executes well. A nice number of moves, nicely connected, and it flows well. And Adam, don't you think flowing is very important in a meet like this?
Yes. Oh, we just messed up a little bit. Actually, what you were saying before, Mike, moving from one routine to the next, subroutines in a routine, is another thing judges look for. If you can go from one kind of tumbling to another kind without making any mess and it flows smoothly, then the judges will, of course.
Well, that's
show
very
appreciation in the score.
That's very true. Now let's see how well Nathan Held was able to fare here. As we await the judges' decisions, we have them setting up, and we will see them momentarily. And we've got a 3.4 and a 3.0. So 3.4 and 3.0 now for
With
Nathan
an
Held.
average of 3.2.
So therefore, now we have Scott Drucker up for Cherry Hill East. First tumbling run executed quite well. Oh, beautiful, beautiful move there. Excellent height on that, excellent landing, only a slight bobble. So far, he's going quite well. Now he's just showing his flexibility as well in the far corner, something that all the contestants must do. And Adam, how important is flexibility in gymnastics?
Well, Mike, if you're flexible, you can do most of the moves. Like a split, I can't do, and you got to be really flexible. And if you can do a split, then you have potential to do almost anything. And I think he did a split right in front of the judge, maybe to show him that.
So now, as we head back to the action, he shows again his balance as well, using the Y stance, and he has to hold that for a minimum of 3 seconds for it to count as a superior move there. And now he does good execution as he goes into the other corner, setting up for his final tumbling run, which is, as you say, what stays in the judge's mind the most, and does an excellent combination, nails the landing, and we may have seen the best performance of the night thus far for Scott Drucker. And as his teammates go over to congratulate him, we must say that perhaps Scott will serve as something of a paradigm for the rest of the players, showing them what they must do. And especially at this match of the season, East versus West, rivalry is great. Certainly the apogee of the season for both teams, even though it is still early and they have many matches ahead of them. Well, let's see.
Judges are taking a little bit more time judging this one. I think it's such a good routine.
That's true. You have to take into consideration all the depth and movement and all the height that he got on those flips was quite excellent. So he's got a 6.5 and a 5.6. That's quite a discrepancy. Quite a discrepancy. However, he still did have one of the better performances of the evening thus far, and East is leading. However, now we have the West competitor up there, Calabrese, and he had excellent height. However, his landing, he put his hands down. That will certainly cost him heavily. Now he goes into that far corner, as you mentioned, Adam, near the judge, and showing his ability to be flexible as he does a handstand into a forward roll, then a backward roll into a handstand, directly into the corner. Now, well, as we couldn't tell from our angle, but if he did step out of bounds there, that will cost him in his routine. And he's being very close to the line in a very precarious position from our standpoint. Now he goes into his stance, and he's having a little bit trouble holding it. He's swaying a bit. And as he sets up for, I think that's his final tumbling run at him, he does an excellent succession of moves, 4 or 5 in a row, into the far corner. And that was Calabrese for West, putting on a fine showing here. However, he putting his hands down, making a few bobbles that may cost him score-wise. And East may be able to take a commanding lead here and may be quite minatory towards West in the scoring department, wouldn't you say, Adam?
Yes, I would, Mike.
And as we await the judges' decisions, who so thus far are doing quite an excellent job with a 4.4 and a 5.0 for Steve Calabrese. So now a roar from the crowd goes up as Rich Highland for Cherry Hill East comes up, and they have taken quite a lead here and seem to be in quite a minatory position towards West. Now there he is going on, and although West can't feel lugubrious yet, certainly they will have to be concerned going into the side horse. Now there he is, showing his flexibility by doing an excellent power move off the mat. Although that may look easy, try that at home if you're watching, and you will find that you'll be lucky if you can lift yourself up the floor. There he goes into a handstand, able to hold that for quite a period of time, does a pirouette, and comes back down into 3 back handsprings, I believe, into the corner, stays in bounds. Excellent routine thus far for Rich Highland of Cherry Hill East. Now he sets up for his final tumbling run, goes off, does a succession of moves which flow well into the other, is able to refrain from using his hands when he's lifting himself up off the mat there, and finally ends with that move, double back handspring, excellently executed. Adam, did you notice any mistakes there that he may be taken off for in that routine?
Well, right before he did his last tumbling run, when he finished his routine of handsprings and somersaults, he stepped a little bit back from where he landed. I don't know if you were able to see it or catch it or not, but judge may take that into consideration. Otherwise, I thought it was a very good routine.
Certainly, that is true, and of course, when they bound like that, they show how full of essence they really are, these athletes. And then, as we see, reflect that in the score with a 6.0, and now what happens is it looks like the scores are differing by more than a point, and when that happens, they must confer because, and this is something that I feel is good in the sport of gymnastics, because you don't want to give the player the feeling that he's being slighted by one of the judges. You want to be able to be consistent, and thus, when giving your score, if you're off by more than a point, confer, average it out to make sure that you're giving the player a fair shake. Your views on that?
Well, Mike, no two judges will just see the same thing alike. So if something like this happens, one of them is obviously wrong. Of course, if it is far enough apart, of course they may both be wrong. But in this case, one of them had to change their score.
Oh, so yes, we can see that his score was raised, and it's a 6.8 and a 6.4 for Rich Highland, and thus far the highest score of the evening, and certainly he is causing a great deal of happiness and joy to the East team right now. This is now Andy Davis up for Cherry Hill High School West, the final competitor on the floor exercise for West, and he's just completed his first tumbling run. And there he did some excellent execution. He's going quite fast. Oh, there he lands right on the seat of his pants, and that will certainly cost him, although that was a very difficult speed move, which certainly, at least the judges will take into consideration the effort that he put forth to try to take on such a difficult move.
And also, where he was, he also had to maybe take a little energy out of what he really wanted to do because he was so close to the corner. I think he would have more taken off his score for going out than trying to complete the move.
So now, as he sets up for his last tumbling run, he motions to the judges and goes off 2 front handsprings, goes into the corner. He doesn't execute it as well as he would have liked, but he's putting forth a valiant effort here as the final competitor for the floor exercise for Cherry Hill West. A look of consternation upon his face, maybe just a bit disgruntled at this point. And here he goes. His final succession of moves, nails the landing on that. So at least he will leave with a good impression of the minds of the judges, but as you can see, he is not happy and walks away quite disconcerted. Now we're looking for the score here for Andy Davis, and thus far the highest single score has been for Steve Calabrese at a 5.0. So West is certainly looking to break the 5 barrier here and perhaps put some pressure on the East team. And again, we wait for the judges' scores as they set them up. We've got a 4.1 and a 4.0. So what we have here is East clearly has already clinched the floor exercise with their excellent scores. 3 of their competitors scored in the 6s, and nobody has scored lower than a 4.8 on the East team thus far. Oh, that was excellent height by Joe Gilson, nailing the landing there. And we have the most superb performance of the evening right now, perhaps the paradigm that the other players are looking for. Certainly the epitome of play thus far. And now again, doing the required things that every gymnast is required to do, handstand, showing their flexibility, showing their balance, able to hold that for quite a long time. And it's certainly gymnastics. One of the most difficult sports around. You have to be an all-around athlete. You can't just be strong. You have to be able to use your head out there in case something goes wrong in the routine. So it's not a sport as easy as it may seem, and it's gaining popularity in this nation. The likes of Mary Lou Retton have shown throughout the ages. And here we have Joe Gilson showing us where the young gymnasts are coming from. Here, perhaps in the suburban area of Cherry Hill East, and a roar goes up from the crowd at the completion of that routine. And we're waiting the scores, but in my opinion, and I don't know about yours, Adam, but in my opinion, that was the best performance of the evening.
Yes, you said that a few times, Mike, but it seems that as they started out, they had pretty good routines, and as the routines pressed on, their scores were higher. So maybe each team saved their best for last, or they started from lowest scores, average to highest average. But no matter what they did, it looks like that was the best of the evening so far.
All right, as we await the scores here, and after this we will go on to the side horse. Here they come. They are 8.3 and it looks like 8.5. So it was the epitome of the evening thus far. 8.3 and 8.5, an average of 8.4, 8.45 to be exact. And now we're going to move on to the side horse, and as we get set, let's review things. East was able to take that event easily with their fine performances, and Joe Gilson capping things off, being the zenith of play here in the floor exercise at least, with his combined average of an 8.45, an 8.4 score. And now the judges are setting up here to perform, to watch with intent eyes the side horse. And just to tell you who's going to be on there for West and East, here is Adam with the lineups coming up right now.
Okay, for a side horse for West is Eric Karn, John Stugler, Lee Jong, Reggie DeJesus, and Andy Davis. For East, Rich Hyland, Scott Drucker, Dave Gordon, Jack Kobinski, and Joe Gilson. Joe Gilson, of course, as you just saw, he had the highest score in the floor exercise. We don't know if he has the same skills in the side horse, but we'll soon find out.
Yes, but thus far he has been the cynosure of the meet. All right, so now we're almost set for the first member, side horse, and I believe that West will start off this competition on this event. And if that is the case, Eric Karn will be up. We will see momentarily.
Well, Mike, I don't think Eric Hahn will be up because he is right over there helping one of the judges. So maybe he's not participating today.
So obviously there's been a change in the roster that we received. Coach Meehan of Cherry Hill West did not inform us of this. So we'll see who will be up for Cherry Hill West first. There is a hush of silence has fallen over the crowd here as they await the first competitor, and the judges do seem a bit edgy here. One of the judges is walking over to the scorer's table to see what's going on. And what we are being told here is that whoever was supposed to be the first member out there, you take 3/10 off the team score from the total of the pommel horse. So if West is to be up first, then they will have 3/10 for being late. If East is to be up, East was to be up, so what we'll have is the East from their total team score, 3/10 will be subtracted. And now we have the pommel horse, which requires extreme strength and agility. Perhaps Adam, you'd like to explain what is necessary to do well on the pommel horse.
Well, Mike, you have to have superior arm strength. You have to be able to support your whole body. You can't take breaks in the middle. You have to, as that move right there, he swung around on his arms, and he's getting back up to horse, regaining his composure.
All right, so
That was a pretty good. That was very good routine. Just to go on about the pommel horse, you do need very good arm strength because your whole body. If you walk on your legs, and your legs are probably the strongest part of your body, but here you're supporting your whole body on your arms, almost like walking. Of course, you don't spin around when you walk, but that's pretty much the way it goes.
sometimes, though, these breaks are ineluctable, and nothing you can do about them. But what we have here are the scores, 3.6 and 3.5 for, we believe that's Rich Highland of Cherry Hill East. And now we will have Scott Drucker up. Scott Drucker up for Cherry Hill High School East. And as he begins, and you see that little break there, as he sits on the pommel horse. And as you mentioned, the arm strength, very difficult to develop, but he is handling the challenge quite well and is being as fluid as he possibly can. There is some superior moves which require excellent strength. He does manage to fall off, and the coach motions him to take his time as he dismounts. So I think he had a strong finish there, Adam, which may save and certainly get a higher score than his partner, Rich Highland.
Yeah, well, he made one mistake in the end that his teammate Rich Highland did. Right before he was about to do his ending move, he stopped and he mounted back up, and then he just got right off, which was supposed to be his ending move. So if he had gone through it without any breaks, it would have looked really great.
Well, as we see, it was a higher score, but due to the breaks in the middle of the routine on this very difficult event, though it is 4.0 and 4.4. So as we have noted here, the scores have been steadily going up, and perhaps that is the coach's design here, to have their earlier players set the pace, and if they don't do as well, just have the rest of the players pick it up at the end. And here's a chance for West to really catch up, because if they have some real strength on this event, and here we have John Stigler, and he being very tall might be a disadvantage in this event, because you have a lot of, especially with those long legs, have a lot of that weight to swing around the bar. And he talks to the judges a little bit and kind of telling them why, making excuses, but excuses really aren't going to cut it in this event. And judges here, real true professionals, even here on the high school level, and we'll see. That'll probably be not what he wanted for a score, and as we see there, a 1.6 and a 1.8.
He seemed to be very nervous, Mike. This he may not be as nervous in all other gymnastics meets, but perhaps because this is crosstown rival Cherry Hill East, he was shaking a little bit. Even from this distance, we were able to see it.
That's very, very.
Now East is up.
Okay, so what we have here is Dave Gordon up for Cherry Hill High School East. And as he begins, no breaks, a slight break there, manages to get to the right side of the horse, manages to stay on and not fall, which I think is a key here. He slows down a little bit, maybe the mark of some experience there on his part. And now he slows down a little bit, gets ready for his dismount. Dismounts and was able to stay on the horse. And East at least felt that was the best routine of the evening thus far, and I would tend to agree with them, Adam.
Yeah, well, so far West has not had much competition with that. So far, three competitors from East have gone, and only one from West, and that one was not as good, maybe perhaps as Coach Meehan would like it to be. So, but I think the East is in for a surprise from West. West should come back with some really good competitors in this event.
Well, we shall see as tonight unravels before our very eyes. But here we have a 5.2 and a 5.2. And cheers go up from the East bench. They're very happy at that score. And now what we have is Lee Jong up on the pommel horse for Cherry Hill West. And perhaps he will be able to bring West back into contention for at least this event. But as we see, as he immediately gets on, he slips off. And it's not the way you want to start, because Well, you just have to get that out of your mind and move on. But
What he did,
sometimes
what he
very difficult
did,
to do.
what he did just there, Mike, was he tried to get on while as he was falling off. I think maybe you saw him trying to cling to the side of the horse. Maybe if he just fallen off, gotten back on, his score may have been saved just a little bit.
Well, there's the routine, and thus far the routines of West have not been too fluid. They've been very choppy, and I guess it's just they haven't been able to develop the strength in the arms necessary to do the fluid moves that perhaps they would like to do. But we will be awaiting the score of Lee Jong, and it's a 2.0, slightly higher than the first, and a 2.1. So it has been going up, although not enough to pose any sort of a threat to East thus far. And it looks like they're going to clinch this event as well, unless there's a drastic change in the turn of events here. And now we have Jack Kowalski going up there. And as he prepares himself, a last bit of mental concentration before he boards the ride of his life, which he controls here in excellent fluidity. Oh, but then when he comes towards the edge of the... He decides to rest a little bit, and he is allowed to do this. He goes back for some chalk, concentrates, and perhaps this is a little bit better than just starting right over again. Adam, your view?
Well, I think they take off more points in this, but if he does it flawlessly, his score will be better. As if he followed off, tried to hang on, then continued from the middle.
Well, he is allowed 30 seconds to go in if he wants to, retain his composure. But some players just like to get it over with, and he seems to me that maybe the mark of experience is get that out of your mind and continue the routine. As we see, although not as fluid as the beginning, certainly is quite good and superior to those of West thus far. As he works his way over to the other side of the horse and finishes off. So really an excellent routine, although maybe a part one and a part two, a little break in the middle, which would lower the score substantially. If somebody here could stay on the horse the entire period of time, I think they would really have a superior performance. But I think that thus far this will be the best and the performance of the evening in this event anyway.
Well, that's what you said before, Mike, and Joe Gilson changed your mind there in the floor exercise, and he's coming up last for East in the side horse, and perhaps he can do it again, or perhaps not.
Well, only time will tell, but here are the scores for Jack Kowalski, and quite good, 5.6 and 5.3. So, as we have noted, the scores have been going up, and perhaps Joe Gilson will prove me wrong, and let's see what happens. But right now, for West, Reggie De Jesus, sophomore here at West, begins his routine. And he manages to stay on, tries to keep his fluidity going, works his way from one side of the horse to the other, as is required in this event. And the man is staying on the horse, not quite as fluid as perhaps he would like. He keeps landing down, and but however, quite a good routine. Perhaps staying on the horse is not the entire key. Of course, he keeps bobbling up there, but other than that, I think quite a good performance. Of course, there, as you can see, there's quite a disparity often between the East and West performances, and East has the advantage, I think, of a much larger team, and has the advantage of a much larger team, and therefore can select the better players, while West sometimes is pressed to find people for the events. And the scores there for Reggie were 3.4, 3.0, and have been going up, but of course not at the same proportionality to that of East. And now here comes Joe Gilson, and he is being quite fluid, although he's had 2 breaks already. Continues, and now is circling around the bar, working in the middle, using those pommels. Oh, but great, falls down, a bad scrape there, and may have hurt his arms there, but like a trooper, pulls through and is able to complete the routine. He looks a bit flustered now. However, he's still putting forth an excellent showing. And Joe Gilson, I think, could have had the makings of an excellent routine there, but that one spill, although I think he could have taken that if it wasn't such a hard spill into the metal pommels there.
That's true, Mike. It doesn't look like they're very high, the pommels on top of the horse, but when you're going around, it's harder to keep yourself even over there because they have to keep their legs over them, and even if they just brush across them, the points are taken off. And when he slammed right into those, probably hurt his leg, and he's probably in pain during the rest of the routine. And that's probably why after he started continuing, that's why he probably got off and got on again.
Certainly, and As we noticed, it was 4.3 and 3.8, so that was the first time that the scores have gone down, and that was due to the unfortunate spill he took into the pommels. Now the final competitor for West will be Andy Davis, and if he has an extremely strong showing, West may be able to pull off this event in the side horse. We shall see. And Andy is able to stay on the horse, although he bobbles just a little bit. Now being quite fluid, working his way from the right side to the left. He's in the middle right now, showing his flexibility, his strength, his moves he's performing, some of them quite fluid in parts, is able to perform quite well, and has not fallen off the horse, something I think is perhaps what the judges are looking for, just, trying to see if you can stick it out there. On there, the dismount was quite good, signals to the judges, and Andy Davis, quite a fine routine. I think West will not be able to take the side horse event either, but they are steadily progressing, and perhaps in the last 4 events we'll be able to put on some kind of a fight here and make a run at East. Of course, East is considered in South Jersey one of the finer teams in the gymnastics field, and therefore West certainly had their work cut out for them this evening. And as we have a 3.3 and a 3.2, so he had the highest average for West, and East was able to take that event as well. And now what we have here is we have rings coming up. An exhibition will be Kenny Surface for East. That will not count towards the score of any team. So what we have is now Kenny Spencer going up for exhibition. We'll let you enjoy that. Let's review, if we might, the first 2 events while this exhibition is going on. First, we had the floor exercise, where East was able to take quickly by storm, and even their lowest score was higher than West's highest score, which shows you the domination in that event. And certainly, there seems to be right now an ineluctable conclusion that West is not looking towards a victory here. As a matter of fact, they're not putting on much of a fight at all.
Perhaps the coach knew that the first two events were not West's strongest point, and maybe he wanted East to, start to feel at ease, and then they would, take them by surprise in the next few events and dominate.
Well, it's very difficult often to tell the plans, the arcane plans of a gymnastics coach. And we can't certainly, he's not revealing anything to us. We've asked him repeatedly. And so we will just see how this unfolds. But we do hope you are enjoying this broadcast. It's our first stereo broadcast. And for those of you who can enjoy the sound of stereo television, we hope you're enjoying this broadcast. And now up for Cherry Hill West is Nathan Held on the rings, a sophomore here at Cherry Hill West. Begins his routine in the inverted position. Excuse me. The key to this event is keeping the rings as steady as possible while performing strength moves as well as those dealing with agility and flexibility, something which every gymnast is trying to perform here on this event. Nathan now going through his routine, doing an excellent job, excellent landing, although the rings are swaying quite a bit. So we will have to see how much that is taken into account by the judges. And then we will be able to tell you how well Nathan Held did. Right, Coach Meehan giving him a few words of advice as he walks away, perhaps a little bit of encouragement. Nathan scores for Nathan a 2.4, 2.4 and a 2.6. So as we saw, I don't know if you saw this, but as Nathan walked back, he did give a slight chortle as to say, not good enough, and better luck next time, Nathan. Now for Cherry Hill East is Spencer Terror, and as he begins, you see the rings are quite still. Now he sets himself up, rings moving just a bit as he goes into a cross, performing a great deal of strength moves. As again, this requires a great deal of arm strength, doesn't it, Adam?
Yes, it does, Mike. Especially on the rings they're using. There are another set of rings. I don't know if you can see them or not, but they are closer to the ground. And as you go up, the gravity is pulling you more down. And I know when I got up on those rings once in gym class, it felt like a tremendous strain. And also the drop, if your arms can't take it, you'll get hurt.
What we had there was a tremendous spill there by Spencer Terror, and we certainly hope he's all right. He's going to remount now. The whole crowd gasped when he did hit the ground there, and certainly is unfortunate because we would not want anyone, no matter how intense the rivalry, to get hurt in a gymnastics meet. It's just not worth it. And now he finally completes his routine. And if it was not for that one unfortunate spill in which, thank God, the mats were there because they really saved a nasty accident. We've had almost two tonight. We had earlier Joe Gilson on the pommel horse slamming into the pommels and causing a great deal of jolt of pain into his body. And now we have Spencer Terror falling quite a distance onto the mat. But let's see what the judges have to say about his performance, which was quite fine in spots. And here they come, 2.8 and 2.2. So right now, what we have is East and West are quite even in this event. Right to this date. Now we have Henter up for Cherry Hill High School West as he waits for the rings to still, helped up by Coach Meehan. And he is ready to begin. He stills him, and now he begins his routine. And there we see almost perfect stillness on the rings. That's what you want to see when you're performing a routine. He goes through, sets himself up to go into those power moves, which he does, and he's able to hold for quite a period of time. Now goes into a headstand on the rings. The rings are quite still. Now he drops back down. Quite a bit of power involved here. And he finishes his routine. So Cherry Hill West, we will see what performance is. He looks a bit dejected, but don't worry about it because it was really one of the final performances of the evening. So as we await the scores here, the East members of the audience are cheering on their teammates. We have 2.5 and 2.4. And thus far, we have had nobody being able to break out of the 3 range in scoring-wise. But Brian Brannigan, I'm sure, will try to top that. And if he can, he may be able to pull off this event for East as well and put a great deal of pressure on West going into the final 3 events. He starts his routine, and the rings are swinging quite a bit. He's able to still them, and that certainly takes a great deal of skill, stilling the rings once in progress. And now he continues on with his routine, executing this one quite well. Dismounts, one of the more fluid routines. Showed some difficulty, showed his strength. Although maybe perhaps the rings weren't as still as he would have liked, was quite a good routine. We'll see what the judges have to say about it. See if he can break out of the 3 range in scoring and see if he's have set the tone. And he is able to get a 3.0 and a 2.8. So the East has taken the smallest of leads into the rings. If Kevin Lee can turn in a superior performance, we may be able to take this event. The crowd motions for silence. And the rings are absolutely still as he begins. Now he goes into his routine, trying to put on the spirit performance needed to take this event and put some pressure on Cherry Hill East. Well, we have him performing his routine. The rings are remaining relatively still. Dismounts quite a short routine, but what he executed well. His dismount was good. He nailed the landing. So we'll see what kind of scores he gets. Adam, your thoughts on the performances thus far, the rings?
Well, Mike, the performances for both East and West so far have been equal. So far, they're equal. Perhaps if West is hoping that they will be...
Yes?
Well, perhaps West just got the high scores of the evening.
Yes, 3.2 and 3.4. So therefore, now it looks like unless East can surpass that performance, West may be on to his winning its first event of the evening before we break. And here comes Scott Drucker trying to top that, and perhaps on his way to doing that, although he falls out of perhaps what he was trying to attempt a strength move there, which he felt perhaps he did not have to be able to do. There he does it that time. Goes back up. The swings are, the rings are swinging rather mightily, but an excellent dismount, although he did fall down, I believe.
Yes, he stumbled. He fell on one knee and got up right away. His coach did help him up. I don't know if the judges will. I think he could have gotten up by himself. I don't know if the judges will take off if the coach helps him up or not. But I think it was a pretty good routine, except for landing.
All right, so let's take a look at what the judges have to say. He's trying to top a 3.4 of Kevin Lee. And the judges now taking their time because they realize perhaps how momentous, monumental, and paramount this decision may be towards the rest of the tournament. And what we have here is a 4.6, the highest score, and a 5.2. So he's answered punch for punch here, and when under the pressure, East has been able to come through here, and this is the first pressure they've really felt in the evening, but they have responded quite well and have taken again the lead in the rings. And now up is Calabrese for Cherry Hill West. And as he begins his routine, you see he has trouble struggling to get up there. And as you point out, it's very difficult using just arm strength alone.
Getting up there is probably the hardest part. Once you're up there, you usually can hold it better. But getting up there, your muscles, they start to shake, and there's a lot of strain on you. But once you're up there and doing all the moves, it takes and your legs do a lot of the work too, swinging, going back and forth. So the hardest part of the whole routine is getting up there, and judges can also judge it by the way the ropes of the ring shake. So they're also looking at that during the routine.
That's a good point. And so now we have the scores coming in 1.8 and 2.5, and so perhaps that's swinging and the shortness of the routine did account for that. And it looks like although West had a shot at winning this event, have thrown away not a golden, but perhaps their best opportunity of the evening. And now up is Rich Highland for Cherry Hill East, who will be trying to even surpass his teammate Scott Drucker at this point and clinch the third event for Cherry Hill High School East, one of the finer teams in gymnastics in the South Jersey area. As he continues on this routine, he has not really made any major errors that we can see. He gets set for his dismount, and he falls down straight on his hands. But other than that, again, the landing, when they're going for those tough dismounts, the landing sometimes, if the timing is just a little bit off, is not made too well.
And again, in this routine, the rings after he got off were shaking a lot, so that probably the judges are looking at also the tremendous thud he made as he landed.
So we await the judges' decision on this performance of Rich Highland, and the last competitor on the rings for Cherry Hill High School West will be Andy Davis. The scores are 3.6 and 3.9. So up now for Cherry Hill West is Andy Davis. He'll be the last competitor on the rings for Cherry Hill High School West. He begins his routine, and he will have to turn in perhaps an almost near-perfect performance to get West to win this event. And in high school level especially, it's very difficult to turn in a perfect performance simply because you don't have the experience to do so. And there's a dismount, a difficult dismount. Coach Meehan does not help him. He's always at a spot, though, in case he's needed. And so now we wait the scores for Andy Davis on this routine. We will see Jack Kaczynski going up there for Cherry Hill East as the final competitor. And here come the scores, looks like. And the crowd patiently waiting here. A little bit of Mariota. And a 3.2 and 2.6. And it's Jack Koblinski, the final competitor for Cherry Hill High School East. And it looks like East as well has clinched the title as far as the rings competition is concerned as well. So perhaps in in their heart and mind, some of the players are execrating East, those of West at any rate. However, there's really not much that they can do about it. It's kind of out of their hands. And here's Jack Kablinski. Let's enjoy his routine now, as he is the final competitor for East on the rings. So as he performs his strength moves and his flexibility, and the rings are not too moving too fast, he nails the dismount. And Adam, what would you say to that performance in comparison to all the others on this event?
Well, it was very good. I think I really can't evaluate the score, but it was among the best. Just the dismount, when he dismounted, he kind of went a little bit back. He didn't land right parallel with the rings. He went a little bit back, and he made a great noise when he landed, and the rings were shaking tremendously. So that is all going to be taken into consideration when the judges score them.
Yes, he may have been the non-pariah of this event. Now we're ready. We're ready for the crowd to quiet down, and as soon as they do, we will see.
West is especially under pressure now because East is such a crosstown rival, and they're down 3 out of 6 events. So they got to show some expertise here.
Okay, there was Creole there for East with the first vault, front handspring. He had excellent height, but his landing was left a lot to be desired. As we await the judges' scores there. They are 6.2 and 6.5, so one of the high, good score for Steve Creole there. And as you will see, the vaulting scores will probably be the highest scores of the evening, because it's one of the easiest events, if you could call any event easy, in gymnastics. There, another front handspring by Brian Brannigan, Cherry Hill East. Rating his scores that time, he had the same height, form, but his landing was quite a bit better. Don't you think so, Adam?
Yes, he improved on what he saw from his teammate there. He did the first guy that just did this event. He did the move okay, but he landed on his face, and this guy landed on his feet.
Okay, so now we're waiting. I believe that's Nathan Held up there. He'll be the first competitor for Cherry Hill High School West, and sophomore, is fond of history, 3 honors. Was also into gymnastics, and those scores were 6.7, 6.5. But here comes Nathan Held. Oh, that was supposed to be a front handspring, I believe, but he wasn't executed too well. He almost looks like he was sliding his head along the back edge of the board of the mat there. But c'est la vie. And just to update you, it was 6.7 and 7.1 for Brian Vanagan. So scores are going up again for East, and Nathan Held, we're waiting here, probably be somewhere in the 5 range. And he's redoing it. I guess he has the option to do that. And that time was much better. He landed dangerously close to the vault.
That landing was somewhere between the first 2 East players. He didn't land on his face, but he didn't land on his feet. He kind of landed on his knees there.
And there we will see now what the judges have to say about that performance. Certainly, we can't excoriate West too much because it's still the inchoate stage of the season, but 2 4.2s for Nathan Held. And now up for Cherry Hill East is Brian Coleman-Singh. Here comes Brian as he makes his approach. Speed, very important. Hits the takeoff nicely. And it was excellent. Looked excellent in the air. However, he went off to the left on the landing somehow. Didn't keep his timing together. And Adam, as you see, that might be the key to this event.
Yeah, the landing is so far what's messing everybody up. The mat is, of course, it's not as solid as the floor, but it does cushion your fall. So when you land, your feet will sink into the mat so that you may cause you to be off balance. So you have to be about your wits after you land.
Okay, the scores for him were 7.6 and 7.3. High scores thus far. Brian Coleman-Singh for Cherry Hill East. And Chuck Henner has a great task ahead of him here. Excellent speed. Hits that mat. Oh, beautiful. But he had too much speed. Goes flying off the edge of the mat. Almost out the door there. But he manages to stay in the stadium. Fortunate enough.
He went pretty far because next to the blue mat for landing, there is a gray crash mat, and that's where he ended up laying on.
Yes,
So
he had excellent distance. If he could have only put his land under control, his landing under control, probably would have a very excellent score. But let's see what he did end up with, and that was a 6.7 and a 6.2. 6.7 and 6.2. Chuck Henner, very excellent score there, on par with Brian Brannigan, Cherry Hill High School East. And now up for Rich Highland, Cherry Hill High School East. Didn't have as much speed, but nice form, nice landing. He did take a few steps. But other than that, quite a good vault. Seems to me that all the players are doing front handsprings. Perhaps one of the easier vaults, but maybe what they're good at. As we wait the scores for Rich Highland, as you can see, it's a fast-paced event, 7.0, and a conference. As we can see, once again, the discrepancy was more than a point. Therefore, the judges did get together and are going to palaver just a little bit here. Come up with the proper score. It looks like it's going to be 6.5 and a 7.0 for Rich Highland of Cherry Hill High School East. And Steve Calabrese now up for Cherry Hill West. And he eyes the ramp, the runway, and looking to make an excellent performance. Has some great speed. His takeoff ramp just right. Good form, good landing, but again, took too many steps. And was a good vault. You know, overall, it's again, this landing, the timing is just a bit off, unfortunately. As we await the scores once again, and the rapid fire scoring here of the vault. One of the fastest events you will see in gymnastics meets across the nation. And the scores were 6.8 and 7.2. And now up next for Cherry Hill East is Scott Drucker, and then the final participant of this event will be Andy Davis. One of the most close events thus far. There goes Scott. Not bad. He got his hands quite far off on the vault itself, but the landing did again leave much to be desired. I think that's what all the contestants will have to work on, you know, after the inchoate stages of the season are over, as we move into the median and the end there. We will be looking.
Andy Davis has an advantage now because he sees what everyone has been doing wrong. Now he's going to probably concentrate more on the landing. And, of course, he has to concentrate on the vault just to get up there. But the landing is the key to getting the better score and perhaps winning this event for West.
Of course, Scott Drucker, though, was able so far to be the paradigm of all the scores with the highest 7.8 and a 7.6. But here comes Andy Davis, pardon me, to try and better that. He had a much better landing. However, he didn't get too much distance, so we'll see what the judges are taking into more consideration. Adam, your thoughts?
Well, I think they should be taking into consideration the vault itself, and mostly after they saw what was going on with the first few, the landing. The landing is, I think, the key to getting the better score and perhaps winning the event for their school.
Yes, and it was a 7.4 and a 7.5 for Andy Davis, so it was a much closer event, although I do believe East took that event. Adam, let me ask you this question, if I may, for a minute. What do you think of the meet so far?
Well, Mike, I think the meet is looking good so far. Of course, they're still amateurs. They still are pretty rough in their routines, but I think we see some potential for some professionalism in later life.
And there you may see us on the booth right now, and let me say to all of you watching out there, you look marvelous, absolutely marvelous. My friends, I mean that from the bottom of my heart and soul. Let me tell you that right now, darlings. I really mean that. This is from me to you, you know, let me tell you, you look marvelous. But now coming up, a simply marvelous event, the parallel bars, and we're going to have West and East coming up. One of the most difficult events, and here comes Michael Piesner for Cherry Hill High School East, and now we'll go back to the action. And it's Michael Paisner first up for Cherry Hill High School East. And at the moment, he looks a bit cadaverous, but let's hope he can improve on that and get some muscle going here. He seems to be quite chilled here. And the coach there, ready to pull away the springboard as soon as he swings. Now he starts his moves. And again here, arm strength seems to be the key.
Yeah, and I think if you're smaller, you may have the advantage here because even though you do have smaller muscles, smaller arms, you have less weight to support when you're up there, and it may help you do the moves a lot better than maybe perhaps a taller person.
So now, as we see, he did this completed a handstand, doing a few swings to get some momentum Behind the moves, and he does a dismount. So there's Michael Paisner. Nice executed short. Kind of simple moves, but as long as they're done well, I think the judges will give him a fairly decent score for that. But we can only wait and see because it's very easy to judge from up here in the booth. But when you're down there on the floor in the heat of the action and knowing how important each score is to the player, his family, his coach, his team, the entire community at large, you realize what a momentous decision they have to make. And there was a difficulty factor, took it away with a 3.0 and a 2.6 for Michael Paisner. So I think now if West can put forth its strong players here in parallel bars, may be able to take this event, but we'll just have to see what Lee here, John Lee, can do for Cherry Hill High School West. Certainly the pressure is mounting now. I'm sure that West would like not to be swept and perhaps win some event. And this may be their best chance of the evening. As he mounts, he gets a little bit of trouble, but now he goes into a handstand, performs that nicely, rolls out of it. He's able to do a strength move and performing quite well, holds that for the required amount of time to another handstand, and he's not swinging so much, and judges are looking for that to see if you don't have to swing as much, if you can get momentum out of that. But then he is able, he's losing his strength here, and he has to swing, and he dismounts because he cannot get the strength to perform the move quite as nicely as he would have liked. However, a valiant effort there by John Lee, and we will see if he can better the combined average of Michael Paisner, but he looks like he's unable to do so because he got a 1.8 and a 2.3. And now up next for Cherry Hill High School East, Joel Band. So Joel Band now will be get ready to upcome, and we're having a slight delay here. So as we said before, judges took off 3/10, but here's Joel now and getting ready to get underway. Salutes the judges. Judge smiles. They enjoy that. And you can see the arm muscles there, the definition. He's certainly got some power. Let's see if he's got the flexibility to put this routine together. Able to hold that handstand. Haven't seen that done today, and he's holding that for a good 4 or 5 seconds. Oh, slams his legs on the bar. I could feel that jolt of pain over here. But he bears it well, continues with his routine, holds that quite well. Dismounts very close to the bar. Oh, he went down from 12 to 0 feet there in a surprisingly short amount of time. Slammed his legs. We've seen these players take some real tumbles this evening, and gymnastics is not a wimp sport by any means, is it, Adam?
No, it's not, Mike. The West players haven't been taking as many chances with some of the superior moves. They've been staying to not the basic moves, but better than that. The East players, I think maybe the coach feels that even if just attempt the most difficult moves, the judges will give them better scores.
And let's find out here what we've got here. He's got a 2.3. It looks like he's calling him over for a conference because it seems that we have a... Oh, buddy, lets it go. 2.3, 3.3, because it was on the borderline. So now Manuel Aquido is not here for Cherry Hill West. So who do we have up here? So now we have Chuck Henner up here. Cherry Hill High School West. He's not going to use the board. He's going to come in from the middle. Again, another sophomore here. We could have quite an excellent team here by the time these people, young men, reach seniorhood here at West. And as the crowd falls to a hush, he goes into a handstand. Goes into a back roll, as we see the look of concentration on his face. And it was a short routine, but executed well, I would say. I think it was fluid. I think it showed that he has potential, and being only a sophomore, but next year, the year after, with some practice and some good coaching, which he can certainly get from Coach Meehan, we could have quite an excellent team. And as we see here, adjusting the parallel bars, because not everyone is the same height, obviously, and so of course you want to make it to as much as perfect as possible. But now we have the scores here. They come a 3.1 and a 2.5 for Chuck Henner. And it seems right now that if West can keep the pressure on with Steve Calabrese and Andy Davis, may be able to take the parallel bars event. But we have yet to wait and see. And there is Steve Creel showing you some intense pirouette power there. We don't know where he got his power from. Perhaps it's an atavism, but seems to me that he's trying to act as the apotheosis of the gymnastics field in parallel bar routine. Certainly his prehensile ability is excellent. Therefore, what we have to coin a phrase, he looked marvelous up there, absolutely marvelous. He did. But we'll see what the others have to say. But darlings, if you're still tuned in, I would say that all of you are absolutely marvelous. And let's take a look now, see what the judges do have to say about Steve Creel. Judges? Well, certainly taking their time here. But we've got a 4.5 and a 3.9, and so far the superior performance of the evening. We'll see what Steve Calabrese, Andy Davis, Rich Highland, and Scott Drucker, the remaining 4 performers, have to say about that. But as we go looking forward on ahead to the horizontal bars, looks like West is out of their target for a victory here today. And there is Steve Calabrese, performing some excellent moves, showing some agility, some skill. Holds that quite well, rolls out, is able to roll back, gets his momentum going. He's got that excellent arm strength. Holds that power move, gets up there, moves along on the parallel bar. And dismounts, excellent dismount. Nails the landing, salutes the judges. Seems that the judges, one judge gave a little nod there as if to say, well, superior performance. And we'll see what his score reflects on that.
That was a superior routine, Mike. The moves were basically the same that you've seen, perhaps in a different order, but the dismount, of course, was the best we've seen so far this evening in this event.
I would concur with that statement, certainly. Obviously, I would say the zenith of parallel bar performance, perhaps at the high school level. But we've got a 4.0 and a 3.7, and thus far the highest average, Steve Calabrese of Cherry Hill High School West. So West making a little run here. At East. And what we have here is Rich Highland on the old parallel bars, a freshman and budding, and some have predicted, experts in the field, of course, that by the time this man is a senior, he may dominate Southern New Jersey gymnastics. And as we can see, this freshman certainly has a great deal of raw talent. He's able to maintain his composure after almost losing the entire routine there. And dismounts. So, quite a good routine there. Had a great deal of the crowd was holding their breath as he did that. And up next will be the final competitor for West, which will be Andy Davis. But first, a word from our judges with the score. So the judges now looking and seeing what we may see here. Trying to find out, comparing, contrasting, looking, seeing, searching, to find out what they're going to give this man who turned in what many in the crowd felt is quite excellent. And he's got a 5.4 and a 4.5. And Andy Davis now has all the pressure upon him. Andy Davis, the final competitor of Cherry Hill West. If he can turn in anything in the sixes, West may win this event. But certainly that's something a great deal to ask for of Andy Davis here. So let's see how he performs under the pressure. Thus far, doing quite well. Able to show his agility, his flexibility, his skill. He holds those moves, does a pirouette, lands on the bar, though. And as we can see, that was the first West player that had a major spill. But he's able to keep his composure. Continues the routine. Dismounts. Nice dismount. And we'll see what the judges have to say. But if it wasn't for that one spill, Adam, he had quite an excellent routine.
Another advantage to his routine was maybe the judges pointed out that he didn't use his springboard, didn't need anything to get him up there. He did everything on his own, and even though that one spill, the lack of use of the springboard may have given him a better score than perhaps if he had used his springboard.
Well, we've certainly seen a congeries of style and talent here in this event. But we'll see what the score is, 3.5 and 2.8, and I guess they took off a great deal for that spill there. And now the final competitor for Cherry Hill East will be Scott Drucker, Cherry Hill High School East, and it looks like they have also clinked the parallel bars event. So the last chance for West William event will be the horizontal bars, and we'll see how they do. But right now, we have Scott Drucker, and let's enjoy his performance, as he also is able to show us that he has fortes in many areas of gymnastics, one of which is the parallel bars.
He almost lost it there. He almost fell the other way, but he caught himself just in time.
Yes, perhaps the mark of some experience, some talent. And nice dismount, little bobble back, but we'll see.
He had the same dismount of a West player that did it earlier, but the West player had a better landing. He didn't, bobble. Actually, he did one of the most difficult dismount, and yet he stayed down, didn't move.
Now before the judges score. So, what do you think vertigo plays in the parallel bars? I mean, does it affect the players? What does it do to them?
Well, the dizzy spells that the players do get, they do a lot of spinning around, and they have to know where they are at all times as they go into their next moves. And he obviously did a very good job by getting a 4.8 and a 4.3. That is Scott Drucker for Cherry Hill
So
East.
they have to conquer vertigiousness, have to have agility, flexibility, and a great deal of power and strength. So, really, gymnasts are all-around athletes. I think the likes of Bart Connor and the national team, Mary Lou Retton for the girls, our national symbol now, certainly has brought this sport to the fore. But now, as we head towards the final event, and the final surge of enthusiasm from the crowd will be the horizontal bars. And we will only have 3 competitors from West. They will be Mike DeLuca, Steve Calabrese, and Andy Davis. And for East, it'll be Joel Bland, Brian Colmency, Richard Hyland, Scott Drucker, and Joe Gilson. So I hope you've enjoyed this event thus far. We're heading towards the pinnacle, perhaps the consummation of the finest events and the highest rivalry in high school sports today.
Right now, they're bringing out a lot of padding for safety reasons, of course. If someone should fall off the bar, they don't want him to get hurt.
Yes, of course. That's what we're always looking for in any sport that we cover here. We notice the precautions that the Cherry Hill Board of Education makes everyone take for safety of the players. And we'd like to commend the board for putting down the rules, although they may seem to be a pain and a great deal of time and a nuisance. They're always looking out for the best interests of the students. And we'd like to thank all those people who have invented these rules to care for these players who may be looking on, especially later into the season and perhaps college and perhaps a very few even into the pro ranks of gymnastics. But now we've got our first competitor, Joel Band, Cherry Hill High School East. He gets up there with an inverted grip, and what we're looking for here is some strength, some flexibility, some mobility, some agility, a little bit of everything. Kind of a
That's a giant right there.
yes, a few giants here. We're looking for a farrago of talent. We're looking for, a very great variation of what has to be done. Oh, there's an excellent move. He's able to spin around.
One of his suspenders just came off there. It might trip him up a little. He can't stop right in the middle and fix it. He has to continue with his routine no matter what happens.
That was a nice soul circle. And
Might hit one of his coaches, though, and
that looks like a soul circle dismount. It is. And that suspender did snap. A bit of unfortunate luck, but it seems like he was able to handle it quite well. And so what we have here is Joel Band setting the pace here on the horizontal bars. He looks a bit confused right now why that happened, but he's just joking about it with his teammates because they know they've got this match won, and a little bit of unfortunate luck at this point really isn't going to hurt them too much. What we're looking for now is Mike DeLuca, Cherry Hill High School West. But first, the scores, and 3.7 and a 3.5 for Joel Band, Cherry Hill East, setting the pace there. Everybody will try to surpass that, of course. And now Mike DeLuca of Cherry Hill West, but before him, looks like we have Brian Colmacine of Cherry Hill East. Due to the fact that West only has 3 players, we'll get those 2 out of the way. And then be on par for the rest of the tournament in this final event, the horizontal bar. Brian signals to the judges, gets ready to be helped up onto the bar by his coach. Does so, starts with that inverted hang. Begins now, gets a little bit of momentum. Now rises up to the bar, keeps his inverted grip. Looked like he was going to change, decided not to. Now starts some giants. Does one, does another. Inverts, another giants. Now tried to do a move, but certainly couldn't get the spin off that he wanted. And now rises back up, continues. And what you have to do here is a great deal of the time, when things don't go your way, you have to be able to change in the midstream and change your routine. There he had a soul circle turned around. He's just swinging there aimlessly now, and it seems like he's a pretty futile effort. But we thank him for continuing. The landing was good, however. Slight bobble there. You saw all three coaches rush in on him. So we'll see Brian calling from the scene, coming in excellent performance. The East players going out to congratulate him once again. And as they know, they've got this match bagged. They just come out here, no pressure whatsoever in this final event. We'll see what the judges have to say, and if they do feel too lackadaisical, perhaps West will be able to win the final event of the horizontal bar and perhaps not go home feeling too lugubrious, although at this point, I do think they would be in a fairly depressed state.
Especially since it is a crosstown rival, as we've mentioned. This is not. I don't think the jealousy, the rivalry is as intense as it may be in the football game. You don't have a big crowd, but it is important to them. You know, West would rather say they beat East when they came into school the next day.
Okay, just to update you, the scores for Brian were 4.0 and 3.8, and now up to West. For West should be Mike DeLuca, the first competitor. We will see if that is the case. And seems to me that there is a bit of confusion. There's another East member going up there. That may be Rich Highland. We do believe that it is. So it looks like they're going to have 3 in a row. Then Mike DeLuca, then Scott Drucker, Steve Calabrese, Joe Gilson, Andy Davis. So I guess Andy Davis will be the final competitor of the evening. But right now we have Rich Highland. So there is Rich as he mounts. He uses a regular grip, that inverted grip that we saw before. He gets up there quickly, starts going into his giant swings. That's 3 giants for him. A 4th giant, then he comes back in. He does a nice move there. Looking perhaps for a soul circle here. Inverts grips, comes back around. His legs change a little bit. I think he's getting ready for his dismount. He's changing now. He gets caught in midstream. It looks like he's trying to figure out what to do up there. He looks a bit befuddled there, a bit flustered, but is able to manage a soul circle dismount, which the crowd appreciates. It's Rich Highland, Cherry Hill East. We'll see his score. Then we should see Mike DeLuca of Cherry Hill High School West. Here comes one of the judges back over to the scores table. We will see what the problem is here as soon as he comes over here and confers with the scores. And then now he decided to take, again, 3/10 off the team score for Cherry Hill East for delay. 3 whole points of the team score for Cherry Hill East for delay of the game. We don't know where they delayed the game. We don't know if the judges are just trying to make it more even, but that was the ruling. We haven't received the scores yet of Rich Highland, but we will try to get them for you as soon as we can. Mike DeLuca now up there, performing as best as he can. And the scores were 4.4, 3.8 for Rich Highland. Now we have Mike DeLuca up there. Had a little bobble, but he's managed to stay up. There's Coach Meehan. Look up there. Oh, there his legs flailing away. And he looks a bit befuddled and disgruntled up there.
Keeping his legs together is,
Oh, there we have him landing. And the coach falling over him there.
Dismount probably hurt him, and the coach helping him probably didn't help him in the score when he fell over him. I think he's giving it another try.
It looks that way. It looks like he's going to go for it all over again. It's because that first time seemed to have lost it altogether from about the middle. Going for that dismount all over, he doesn't seem that he's able to do it. It seems that the pressure too much. You know, West is stressing too much. Looks he's just going to give it up. Valiant effort, Mike DeLuca. However, could not quite do it there, and you know, at least being a gymnast is very difficult. You want to do as well as you can, and when things don't go your way, it can be a very frustrating time period out there.
1 point.
We have Scott Drucker out here with quite a good performance. No major bobbles. We'll see what the judges have to say. Hopefully, they won't obfuscate matters at all, keep everything clear. And I think that although we can't excoriate West this evening, we may be able to criticize a few small factors. I think that arm strength has to be worked on for West. I think a little bit of flexibility as well. But they have put forth a valiant showing. And as we saw, Scott Drucker with a 4.5 and a 5.1. Now up is Steve Calabrese, Cherry Hill High School West. And now we have Steve Calabrese up. And he's doing quite well. He decides to change grips. He's got an inverted grip now. And trying to perform a move. We're not quite sure what it was, but he wasn't able to do it. And now here he comes, doing some giants, and you can hear the creak horizontal bar. He gets caught in midstream. Then it's not to dismount, but what he does is he faltered there, so he decided to just go off, wait a couple times, gets a few words of advice from his coach, Meehan, goes back on, and will finish off his routine. And then we will have Joe Gilson, and finally, to cap things off for today, Andy Davis, Cherry Hill High School West. We hope you have enjoyed this broadcast so far, because I know I certainly have, and it's one of the intense rivalries. Although East has dominated, West has put on quite a show. They have been very determined, and as you can see by the likes of Steve Calabrese here, who refuses to give up. And Coach Meehan, who may be batted around by his players as they come flailing into him, supports them all he can. It seems that they have lost. West has lost a bit of their concentration here, but the next meet is coming, and it is only the inchoate stage of the season.
You know, Mike, gymnastics is usually only watched mainly by everyone, by a large scale of people around the country, once every 4 years during the Olympics, and that's usually when it's at its highest. But we're trying to change things like that in this area for all cable viewers, and this gymnastics meet has been exciting so far and close.
Well, close in spots anyway, and certainly the joy of stereo television, which you have been enjoying this evening. Those of you who do have the stereo capability have been seeing just how interesting and excellent gymnastics such as that by Joe Gilson can be in stereo.
And it's not just stereo, Mike, it's NYT stereo.
That's true, and it's you only get it here on B15. Oh, by the way, just for all you viewers, as you watch the excellent performance of Joe Gilson, we will be going to the cable channel 18 the next week. So if you want to tune into us over the weekend and this week when you see this performance, we will be on cable channel 18 already from now and until, well, we really don't know. There, excellent height. Joe Gilson, wonderful performance. What a paradigm. What the epitome of gymnastics performances on the horizontal bar at the high school level. The team runs out. They're ecstatic. They're joyful. They're jubilant. And we're looking at a possible excellent score here for Joe Gilson, except for, yeah, a little bit of bobbles in the middle there. But other than that, some excellent performances by all the players. We'd like to thank all the players for being so well. The judges doing an excellent job this evening, one of the most difficult jobs, as we may have noted. The scorekeepers, everyone here does such a fine job. And, of course, the technical crew, the cameramen, the sound people, without whom we could not do it. We thank you all.
We'd also like to thank Joe Del Campo over here. He's helping us distinguish the participants in this meet. Also, Eric Karn and Morris Nash, who have been helping our judges raise the scores. And it's very hard. Right after they give the score, they take it and show it to the crowd and show it to the
just so you
table.
get that score for Joe Gilson, that was 7.0 and 6.7, the highest score thus far, the epitome, and certainly did agree with what the crowd thought. Now we have Andy Davis, the final competitor of the meet. East knows they has won, but Andy Davis would still like to finish off with a strong showing. Does an excellent maneuver there, and is able to still hold on. The timing there required is, is almost paramount to climbing Mount Everest. It's that difficult. And now we have Andy going into some giant swings, doing a few turns. Loses his momentum, however, and has to get back up there. But as we have seen, the intense determination of West, and if they can keep that spirit up, by the time some of these underclassmen or seniors, we will be a force to contend with in the South Jersey area.
I think, Mike, partially some of the reason that West has not done so well in this meet is something pointed out by one of our people helping, Joe Del Campo. There are not as many upperclassmen on the team. There is maybe one or two juniors and seniors. You have a few sophomores and a lot of freshmen who will be participating later in the season. So that may be a reason why they don't have enough experience.
Yes, the leadership is not there, and the unity is not there. And although Coach Meany can try to provide that, it's nothing that a few seniors and juniors that do the good they can do. And now we'll have the final score here. Andy Davis, his final score 3.9, 4.2, and we will wait for the official word as they add up and total everything. But it is clear that East has won, and if we may recap now, floor exercise, East started their domination early. Steve Creel, Steve Kolansky, especially Joe Gilson with an 8.3 and 8.5 scores there, was able to do an excellent job, excellent performances. All right, so we now have the official totals, and East has won by the score of 100.6 to 67.55. Just to recap the match, they started dominating with floor exercise, then went into the pommel horse, in which a few of their players took a spill but managed to come back. Then the rings, in which they did an excellent job. They dominated throughout the meet. And we congratulate all the players, all the technical crew, the entire staff, and we thank you for watching this evening. And for all of you watching out there, you look marvelous, absolutely marvelous. Goodbye for now. Michael Arrington, Adam Arrington, saying good night and have a wonderful life.
Good night.